All right, today we are diving into a problem that pretty much every workplace has, but we're looking at it through a solution that comes from a wildly unexpected place. It's called the noospheric optimization model.
Okay, so let's just start with a question that I think we can all relate to. Why is a bad culture so ridiculously hard to fix? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Morale's in the tank, there's gossip, things just feel off. But every time you try to fix it, it feels like you're trying to grab a handful of smoke.
And the answer, when you really think about it, is almost painfully simple. It's because you can't fix something you can't even define. The word culture is it's too squishy, it's too vague. And that's exactly where this new model starts to get really, really interesting.
So, if culture is the problem, what's the solution? Well, to find it, we need to zoom out. And I mean way out. We're going to start by looking at a concept that was originally about the entire planet's sphere of thought. Yeah, you heard that right. This whole thing kicks off with a wild idea called the noosphere. It was cooked up by a scientist-philosopher named Vladimir Vernadsky, and he basically described it as the literal sphere of human thought and reason that's enveloping the entire Earth. The easiest way to get your head around this is with an analogy. So just like the biosphere is the sum total of all living matter on the planet, plants, animals, all of it, Vernadsky said the noosphere is the sum of all human thought. It's like a parallel ecosystem, but one made entirely of our ideas. And here's where it gets truly radical. Vernadsky wasn't just being poetic here. He believed this sphere of thought wasn't some abstract concept. No, he argued it physically alters the Earth. The idea is that our collective thoughts are a tangible, world-shaping force. Okay, so a planetary philosophy. How on earth does that help with your weekly team meeting? Well, this is where a consultant named Albert Tan comes into the picture. He did something brilliant. He took this massive cosmic level concept and scaled it right down to the workplace. He argues your office is its own little mini noosphere. Tan's big aha moment was this. A company isn't just a legal entity, just a name on a piece of paper. It's a localized noosphere, a self-contained thought atmosphere that has its own climate, its own weather, its own little ecosystem of ideas. And look, this isn't just some clever metaphor. Tan actually grounds this model in some pretty solid science. He pulls from memetics, the study of how ideas spread like viruses. He uses network contagion theory, which explains how a single bad mood can literally infect an entire team. And most importantly, he introduces this idea of informational pollution, where just bad, low-quality information clogs up the gears and degrades the whole system. And that brings us to the first practical, actionable step of his model, the noospheric optimization model, or NOM for short. It all starts with something he calls auditing informational pollution. So what exactly is an informational pollutant? Well, it's pretty much what you'd think. It's things like gossip. It's the panic that rips through the office after one vaguely worded email from leadership. It's reports built on false data. And Tan also includes what he calls low-quality thought forms, which is really just a fancy way of describing that lazy, uncritical, or just constantly negative thinking that just drags everybody down. Okay, so once you've identified all that pollution, what do? That leads us straight into step 2 of the model, installing memetic firewalls. So here's the whole process in a nutshell. It's just 2 steps. First, the audit. That's where you actually measure how toxic the information supply chain is. Then you move to the filter. You install these memetic firewalls. Now, a firewall could be something super simple, like a new rule that all project updates have to include a direct link to the source data. Or maybe it's a whole new standard for how feedback is given. It's basically any process you put in place that's designed to block low-quality thought before it has a chance to spread. So after all of this, what does a noospheric optimizer, somebody who actually uses this model, what do? What's their elevator pitch? This quote from Albert Tan himself really says it all. He says, "I don't fix culture, that's too vague. I optimize your noosphere." See the difference? He's not trying to fix some undefinable feeling, he's engineering a cleaner, more efficient mental environment. So here it is, the single most important takeaway from this entire model. Your team's collective attention, it isn't some abstract thing. It's a finite, biological resource. And in most organizations, that critical resource is being actively polluted. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to take with you. Something you can apply to your own work. When you look at your team, your company, your projects, what exactly is polluting your noosphere?